In the heart of the galaxy, where stars glimmered like gods whispering secrets, the grand convocation of the galactic high seat gathered beneath its cathedral of crystal. Planet Harneys spun slowly outside the diamond-glass dome, its blue-green surface glinting like a ceremonial blade. Alien dignitaries clustered in their casts, slithering Kroth in glistening coils, the insectoid Zarn clicking mandibles in synchronized thought, and the ethereal Scar Elf floating in zero-gravity robes that shimmered with embedded nebulae. All turned toward the obsidian dais where the Valak stood, towering gold-plated, robed in threads woven from the prayers of dying stars. Their leader, High Priest Zolath, raised a clawed hand. Silence fell like judgment. With the solemn weight of ancient theater, Zolath's voice echoed through the chamber, translated not by language, but by forced understanding. We, the Valak, first aflame, mouths of the divine, declare holy war upon the human species of Terra. They have offended the order, spread chaos, and mocked the sacred with laughter. Gasps rustled like falling ash. Some species nodded in grim approval. Others blinked with curiosity. A few, the older races, shifted uneasily. And in declaring this war, Zolath continued, we cleanse the stars of irreverence. Their music, their memes, their fiction, blasphemies wearing humor. Their refusal to kneel is heresy. Their strength? Accident. A slow scrape of chair legs against marble cut the tension like a knife. From a back row, a lone human stood. Colonel Hal Forrester straightened his black earth diplomatic coat, pinning a gold lapel badge with one hand while adjusting his coffee thermos with the other. He strolled down the aisle, not marching, not striding, just walking. Like it was Sunday, and the war declaration was a neighbor's barking dog. Some aliens turned to observe. A few leaned back, expecting a protest, a tearful plea. But Hal wore the kind of smile that had no business at a holy war, wry, lopsided, utterly human. He stopped at the foot of the dais. Permission to speak. As representative of the United Terran Accord, Zolath looked down as if inspecting something caught between his teeth. Granted, ape. Amuse us. Hal's eyes crinkled. Much obliged. He cleared his throat. First off, thank you for the invitation. Gorgeous architecture. Love the hovering lava chandelier. Really sets the mood, divine fire and all. My compliments to the interior decorators. Several council members exchanged confused glances. Zolath stiffened. Hal reached into his coat and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. Paper. Actual paper. The archaic human medium fluttered slightly in the air currents, causing several floating species to flinch as if it might explode. Just a few comments I'd like to address. He flipped it open. 1. Our fiction offends you. That's fair. I've met people who think Die Hard is sacrilege. But it's really a Christmas classic. Another pause. The translator couldn't quite parse Christmas. Hal didn't explain. 2. You called us soulless. You might be right. We gave up chasing gods around the time we figured out how to split atoms. Which is odd, considering how often we now act like gods. The Scar Elf flinched slightly. The Valak hissed. 3. He looked up, folding the paper neatly and tucking it away. You called us unworthy of the stars. You may be onto something there. But we never claimed worthiness. We just showed up. Like mold in an old cathedral. And like mold, we tend to spread when you try to bleach us out. Zolath's claws curled. You mock us, Earthling. I mock everything, Hal replied. It's how we keep from shooting ourselves. A murmur rippled through the chamber. A Valak scribe raised an ornate scroll. You will sign this formal surrender before the light of the Pantheon burns your cradle world to ash. Hal stepped closer. He examined the scroll as if it were a menu. Before I sign anything, he said lightly, just a few questions. Who here remembers the emperors of Krellin Prime? Silence. How about the daughters of Dyer? No. Anyone? No takers on the dominion of Sarati. The names passed through the chamber like ghost wind. Some elder beings shuddered. The younger ones looked lost. Hal smiled again, but this time it didn't reach his eyes. Exactly. Ask your grandparents. They'll remember. Because we met them too. They underestimated us. He took a sip from his thermos. We weren't even mad at first. We were just confused. Then we got good at the game. Zolatha's voice cracked like thunder. This is not a game. No, Hal said softly. It's a dinner party. Confusion. Hal leaned in, elbows on the podium. You ever been to one of those polite little Earth dinner parties? Priest? Candles. Napkins. Chit-chat. You smile and pass the peas while quietly hating someone across the table. You wait. You sip wine. You tell stories. He took a measured breath. And then, when the timing's right, you quietly cut the meat. Silence. Complete and total. A quiet, so vast even space seemed to pause. Hal stood straight again, brushing imaginary lint off his jacket. Earth does dinner parties really well. And make no mistake, priest, this war is a dinner party. You just don't know who's carving yet. Zolat snarled, stepping forward. You dare threaten the Valak? Threaten? Hal blinked innocently. No, sir. I'm just saying, our planet invented sarcasm and slow-cooked revenge. You declared war on a species that can't even agree on pizza toppings, and yet builds weapons together in silence. He took a final sip. We tried peace, honestly, but you mistook our reluctance for weakness. You assumed smiles meant fear. He turned to leave, boots tapping slowly against the marble. Zolatha's voice called out, twisted with fury. You will fall first. Hal paused at the chamber's threshold. Didn't look back. We rarely fall first, High Priest. He held up his thermos. We just trip and land somewhere useful. The doors hissed shut behind him. Outside, Earth's diplomatic shuttle was docked like a scarab beetle of steel and pragmatism. A young Valak assistant jogged to catch up as Hal boarded. Sir, the Council will publish a galactic decree. They say Earth will be quarantined, destroyed, purged by fire. Hal sat, loosened his collar, and smiled up at the stars. Let him write decrees. We'll write history. The assistant gaped. But you're outnumbered. We always are, Hal said. That's the fun part. Inside the shuttle, he stepped into a private comms booth and keyed in a secure code. Project Leviathan, came a voice from the other end, older, tired, but alert. Time to shave the monsters and iron their Sunday clothes, Hal replied. The galaxy just invited us to dinner. And the menu, the voice asked. Hal stared out the viewport as stars blinked, one by one, like eyes widening. We serve extinction. And far across the stars, at the edge of known space, deep beneath the crust of Earth, something ancient and methodical stirred awake. Systems lighting up one by one, like vertebrae in a rising spine. The humans weren't responding to a war. They'd been waiting for a reason. And now they had won. In a silence thicker than vacuum, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, the Earth didn't scream. It didn't rage. It flicked a switch. Sealed behind 13-foot titanium blast doors, Facility 9 stirred from dormancy. The lights didn't flicker. They sighed, long, reluctant exhales through sterile corridors lined with concrete and reinforced humility. Generators, long cold, hummed awake like ancient wolves lifting their heads to the scent of blood. Colonel Hal Forrester stepped through security level Sigma, bypassing retinal scans with a casual nod. Behind him, the reinforced steel folded shut like a vault swallowing its secrets. He took the elevator down 37 levels. No music, just the soft breathing of a place that wasn't dead, only dreaming. He exited into the heart of it, a war room designed by cynics and funded by ghosts. Glass boards, red thread maps, neural interfaces. Hollow displays flickered to life with dossiers, not of armies, but of people. Real people. Dangerous people. The kind you don't deploy, you unleash. A voice from the shadows. You always wait for the last second. Hal didn't turn. Wouldn't be drama without the pause. Out stepped a woman, mid-60s, Korean descent, hair pinned in a bun so tight it could slice steel. She wore a yellow cardigan over a steel-gray combat harness. In one hand, knitting needles, in the other, a biometric detonator. Dr. Min Kim, once codenamed Songbird. PsyOps architect. Soft voice. Hacked 30 civilizations with bedtime stories and lullabies. She squinted at Hal. How bad? They declared a holy war, he said, loosening his collar. Kim raised a brow. Religious zealots? Worse. Sincere ones. A pause. Then she snapped her fingers. Overhead, rows of lights burst into life. Wake the garden, then. Let's see what grew in the dark. Across the globe, unmarked bunkers received pings. In rural Montana, a man digging fence posts dropped his shovel as his implant chirped. He sighed, wiped his hands, and entered the barn. Inside, beneath hay and horseshoes, lay a suitcase that pulsed once with blue light. Bobby from the shed, explosives and field engineering. Favorite phrase, "Yes, ma'am," followed by detonation. In Queens, New York, a retired schoolteacher flipped a chessboard and tapped an old rotary phone wired directly to military comms. She spoke one word, "Echo." Then opened her closet and revealed 17 disguises. Mrs. Niven, infiltration, and psychological reversal. Disguised her kills as domestic accidents for 3 decades. In Kyoto, a monk placed his tea gently on the mat and rose. He walked to a temple wall and touched a painting that melted into circuitry. Underneath, a railgun. The prayer beads around his wrist tightened into targeting calibrators. The monsters woke. Not beasts. Not mutants. Humans, well-fed, long-retired, quiet terrors who had once bled galaxies dry and been paid to forget. In Facility 9's command center, Forrester and Kim reviewed the manifest. Leviathan operational status? Hal asked. Kim's fingers danced across the screen. 78%. Some of the old ones have arthritis. Hal sipped his black coffee. They'll warm up. Pain's just a memory to them. Kim's gaze flicked toward the star map, now glowing red over Earth. The Valak fleets had begun to move, banners glowing with firelight faith, hymns screamed through vacuum. "We've triggered our trapdoor clause in the Galactic Charter," she said. "Legally, they shot first. Morally, they're crusaders. And strategically," Hal added, "they're idiots." "Good." She smiled faintly. "I like the easy ones." Far beyond Earth, in orbit around an alien moon, a Valak scout cruiser intercepted human communications. But it didn't find troop movement logs or weapon specs. It found, confusingly, a looped sequence of cat videos, morning jazz, and a 3-hour podcast called How to Disarm a God with Duct Tape. The captain, Zarkal Kren, hissed at his subordinates. "They taunt us. They send us nonsense." But then, the feed glitched. A frame. One frame only. A human face in shadow, smiling. A whisper on the audio, "Knock knock." The scout ship vanished. Not destroyed. Not jammed. Just gone. Zarkal Kren's report never reached command. Instead, a new file appeared on the Valak flagship. Human coordinates, frequencies, false intel, bait. Back on Earth, Hal stood before a sealed bay door labeled "Those Who Never Left." Beneath the title, a quote. "You don't have to unleash hell. Just open the gate." He pressed his palm to the reader. Gears shifted with the reverence of church bells. Inside, cryopods stood like tombstones. Each contained a figure suspended in perfect cold. Hal moved down the row, pausing before one, a tall man with burned scars across his neck, frozen mid-smile. The plaque read, "Colton Knox, negotiator, level 0 clearance only." Kim joined him. "You sure you want him?" "He turned 3 civil wars into board games," Hal said, "and lost on purpose to get invited to the enemy's capital." She nodded. "Monsters. Every one of them." "No," Hal whispered. "These aren't monsters." He stepped back as the chamber began thawing. "They're what the monsters feared." Elsewhere in the galaxy, alien ambassadors attempted to make sense of the sudden silence from Earth. Some proposed tighter blockades. Others offered peacekeeping missions. The Scarel sent a diplomat to Earth's orbit. They arrived in a crystalline ship, broadcasting peace overtures, poetry, and sweet harmonic signals. They received no reply. Instead, Earth's auto-response pinged them with a file titled, "Cookies and Consent." Embedded inside was a single image. A human child, holding a sparkler. Behind her, a mushroom cloud. Underneath, in cursive, "We tried nice." Back in Facility 9, the freshly awakened operatives gathered for briefing. Not in uniforms, but in mismatched civilian clothes. One wore bunny slippers. Another, a kiss the cook apron. Hal stepped up, a single tablet in hand. We've been marked for purification. Their plan is to cleanse us. What they don't understand. He paused, looked each operative in the eye. Is that fire doesn't purify us. It feeds us. A laugh broke the tension. Bobby from the shed raised a hand. Sir? Just wondering. Do we get to go loud this time, or are we still doing that polite threat jazz? Hal smirked. You'll start with polite, then go jazz. Swing or classic? Freeform. Grins erupted. Dr. Kim handed out mission profiles with notes like pretend to be harmless and make them beg for a treaty. She added scented stickers to each folder. Why? No one asked. Every operative received one final message on their tablet. Just 3 words. No survivors planned. On the moon Europa, an old satellite hummed to life. It began transmitting Earth's last public broadcast before lockdown. An ad for soft pillows, followed by a scene of a man saying, "See you soon." He looked directly into the lens and winked. The galaxy wasn't watching a war unfold. It was watching the sky smile back. In Facility 9, Hal walked into the comms chamber again. This time, he didn't need clearance. The system knew his step now, trusted it. He opened a direct feed to deep space. A Valak channel. One reserved only for sacred war declarations. He cleared his throat, pressed the mic. To the holy commanders of the Valak, I offer you this single chance for mercy. Pack your hymns. Burn your robes. Leave. He waited. No response. He leaned closer. Because if you do not, we will teach your gods to pray. He cut the line. And from beneath Earth's crust, from black oceans and invisible satellites, the humans who hadn't been human for a long, long time began to move. The dinner party was over. Now came the cleanup. The Valak Armada arrived with all the pomp and dread of divine judgment. Their fleets burned through hyperspace in ceremonial formation. Rings of fire-bright dreadnoughts, surrounded by chorus ships, chanting coded hymns into the vacuum. Great solar sails of gold shimmered as their banners unfurled, each stitched with verses declaring humanity impure and Earth's imminent sanctification. They came not to negotiate, not to conquer, but to erase. From the command vessel, the sanctum of judgment, High Priest Zolath stood on a platform that jutted over the observation deck like a pulpit. He raised both arms. They have mocked order long enough. Let the purging begin. Ignite their cradle. But Earth remained still. Below the shimmering blue marble, no defense grid rose. No missiles screamed skyward. No ships scrambled in panic. There were no calls for mercy, no threats, no last-minute bargains. Only silence. Why don't they answer? Hissed Second Mind Vakrith, his tendrils twitching. Why does the planet wait? Zolatha's jaw clenched. Because they have nothing left but fear. He was wrong. In Earth's orbit, satellites long thought to be weather instruments blinked once, then twice. Their casings peeled back like insect wings, revealing emitters and nested prisms glowing soft green. The third blink sent signals laced through subspace, not as commands but as questions. Ancient, patient queries directed at frequencies the Valak had never dreamed to encrypt. Then the quiet war began. Valak flagship sanctums, lights dimmed. A few crew members looked up. Systems stuttered. Not all at once, just enough to unsettle. A flicker in oxygen regulation. A duplicate voice issuing 2 different orders. A sensor reading showing the ship was simultaneously here and not. Zolath snapped. Purge the interference. But his words bounced back into his own ears with a half-second delay. Then came the human broadcast. Not a scream. Not a threat. Just a soft sound. Jazz piano, mournful, drifting through space like a ghost at a forgotten prom. Vakritha's tendrils twitched again. Sir, they're transmitting music. On a nearby screen, Earth's automated signal glowed. A title card reading, Evening with Coltrane, 1963. Zolatha's teeth ground together. Disable the signal. We can't, came the trembling reply. It's inside our systems now. It's rewritten our targeting lexicon in swing tempo. Another screen flickered. Footage rolled. A human woman sat in a field, smiling softly. She cradled a child. Behind her, a mushroom cloud unfurled like a divine halo. Over it, text scrolled in Terran script. "We won't strike first. We just finish things." Zolath staggered back as warning klaxons howled. Not from enemy fire, but from within. Their dreadnoughts, massive symbols of divine power, began to fall out of formation. The Valak crusade was coming apart. Not violently, elegantly. Human cyberops, long launched from dead satellites and viral probes, didn't disable engines. They sabotaged sequence logic. Ships forgot how to fly. Missiles redefined enemy as everything near me. And Valak AI priests, central to spiritual targeting, began quoting human philosophers. One read aloud, "He who fights monsters should see to it he does not become one." Friedrich Nietzsche. Another added helpfully, "Also, Elvis said don't be cruel." Across the sanctified fleet, lights went out one by one. No blood. No battle cries. Just malfunction layered over paranoia, layered over doubt. Zolath roared. "They fight with illusions. They hide behind tricks." But Vakratha's eyes were wide, unblinking. "This isn't illusion. This is chess." Back on Earth, inside a silent Colorado command room, Hal Forrester stood before a wall of screens. He didn't speak. He stirred his coffee. Dr. Kim entered, holding a data tablet. 70% of their fleet has lost navigational unity. "We could finish them now." "Not yet," Hal murmured. "Let them stew." Kim hesitated. "This is a holy war for them." "That's what makes it so sad," Hal said. "They came here to die with purpose. And we're not even giving them a proper enemy." He took a sip. On the Sanctum of Judgment, the primary engine core went offline. The hymnal chorus halted. In its place, human static crackled. Then a voice. Calm. Measured. "Permission to come aboard." The bridge lights flickered. Zolath grabbed a spear staff and bellowed toward the void. "You think we fear you, Earthling? Show yourself." A pulse of light exploded at the rear of the ship. Not from outside. From within. A boarding team materialized in the cargo bay. Not suited soldiers. Not Marines. A man in a three-piece suit. He carried a silver briefcase. He smiled as he walked. "Name's Colton Knox," he said to no one in particular. "I'm here for a meeting." Security drones rushed him. He spoke a phrase, quiet, clipped, polite. The drones dropped mid-step, optics flashing blue, then dull. "Override," he explained, adjusting his tie. Zolath watched from the bridge, breath short. "Who is that man?" Vakrath murmured, "The negotiator." "You said their diplomats were weak." "They are," Vakrath whispered. "But the negotiators, they're worse." Knox walked up the bridge steps without hurry. Behind him, two operatives, one in an apron, the other humming a lullaby, secured the hall without a sound. Knox stopped 5 feet from Zolath. "Your fleet is dead in the air," he said gently. "Not because we fought. Because you made the mistake of assuming war was noise. For us, war is tempo." Zolath raised his staff. "Blasphemer." Knox tilted his head. "Your ship now runs on Earth's logic protocols. That staff is being interpreted as a violin. Try using it." Zolath lunged anyway. His weapon emitted a brief violin screech, then hissed out a puff of glittering foam. Knox caught him mid-swing, held him gently by the wrist, and looked into his eyes. "You brought fire to an anthill and expected it to bow," he whispered. "But Earth's no anthill. It's the flame that pretended to be clay." Zolath shook. "We were told. You were scattered, primitive children." Knox's expression didn't change. "That's the thing. We're always children, until someone kicks the crib." He stepped back. "Tell your gods. Tell them what silence really is." And the ship darkened. Not powered down. Muted. As if the very soul of the vessel had closed its eyes. The Valak armada drifted like forgotten relics. Thousands of ships, once thundering with zeal, now lit only by blinking emergency lights. And from Earth, a final transmission reached the galaxy. A simple image, an old table, a dinner plate, a steak knife. Underneath it, one line. When the gods fall silent, the monsters rise politely. In the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. The Scarel demanded a ceasefire. The Zarn began migrating their egg chambers away from known human coordinates. Dozens of empires initiated emergency summits. And Earth? Earth made no demands. No ultimatums. It just sat there, smiling, watching. In Facility 9, Hal Forrester leaned back in his chair, arms crossed behind his head. They expected fire, he said to no one in particular. We gave them the absence of light. Kim entered quietly, eyes on the growing data stream. They'll try again. Some other race. Some other name. Hal nodded. Then we'll let them declare it. And then, we'll invite them to dinner. Outside the window, the stars kept blinking, one by one, as if reconsidering their placement. And somewhere, on a drifting Valak vessel, a child held her breath as the screen flickered. It didn't say game over. It said, would you like to play again? The galactic capital was in disarray. Over the sapphire spires of the council seat, once a place of sterile diplomacy and distant reverence, the sun shone weakly. Not because of clouds, there were none, but because fear dimmed everything now. Delegates no longer floated gracefully or strutted in confidence. They stumbled, whispered, trembled. Screens across every corridor showed the same footage. The Valak Armada, motionless in orbit above Earth. No flames. No wreckage. Just derelict pride. Their ships rendered mute. Ships that once sang verses of cosmic wrath now drifted like forgotten prayers. And no one knew how. Inside the inner chamber, silence ruled. Not the regal kind. The brittle kind that cracks under breath. Then came the knock. Not a knock on a door. A knock on reality. A pulse through diplomatic channels. Unencrypted, but undemanding. Simple, polite, and impossible to trace. Ambassador Hal Forrester, United Terran Accord, requesting formal audience. The council stared. Some whispered disbelief. Others stared at the screen as if it might laugh. No one spoke. Then, like a curtain parting, the doors slid open. No guards touched them. No one buzzed him in. Hal walked in like it was Tuesday. Same uniform. Same warm thermos of black coffee. Same calm gait that carried no weapons but left tremors behind. His face showed no arrogance. No joy. Just intention. He stopped before the grand dais of the 12. Ancient species draped in bioluminescent silks, floating thrones, and heavy eyes. I thank the High Council for this courtesy, Hal said, voice soft. Earth recognizes your pain. You are mourning, I imagine. No one replied. Not yet. Hal glanced upward toward the ceiling's stained glass. When I was 12, I sat in a church after it burned down. The wood still smelled like fire, but the glass had survived. Funny thing, people kept praying anyway. Just quieter. He lowered his gaze. You're doing that now. Sitting in your own ashes, hoping the silence forgives you. The insectoid Zarn representative, Minister Klex, broke first. What have you done? Hal's smile was tired. We waited. Elder Miralesh, the Scarel, her body half-light, half-mist, leaned forward. You never responded. No threats. No demands. Just silence. It's not silence if you listen closely, Hal said. It's thinking. Calculating. The bird-like tribe and ambassador clacked her beak. This was supposed to be a religious cleansing. It still was, Hal said. Just not of us. Miralesh spoke again. We understand now that your kind cannot be measured by galactic norms. No, Hal agreed. We're older than you think and dumber than we appear. The worst combination. Klex narrowed his mandibles. You want war now? Is that it? Earth wants vengeance. Hal shook his head slowly. No. Vengeance is noisy. We prefer resolution. The doors opened again. This time, a procession followed. Not of soldiers, but the monsters. Colton Knox, Dr. Minkim, Bobby from the shed, Mrs. Niven in a rose print dress. They entered like retired teachers visiting a school board. All human, all calm, all smiling in ways that didn't feel safe. Kim adjusted her spectacles and handed a folded sheet to the council scribe. That is our peace offer. You'll notice it contains no terms of surrender." Klex laughed bitterly. "Then why are we here?" Hal stepped forward, tone still even. "Because this is your final chance to be included in the future." Miralesh blinked. "The future?" "Yes," Knox said, opening his briefcase to reveal blueprints. This was never about retaliation. It was about reshaping the board. He gestured to a map, one previously hidden beneath false stars. Earth hadn't been watching. It had been mapping. Not territory. Power structures. Trade routes. Weak points in economic infrastructure. Cultural fracture lines. Entire species pressure points. Not to exploit. To control. Kim added gently. "You see, we let the Valak declare war. On paper, we were the victims. But the moment that declaration passed galactic quorum, Earth gained something we've waited 200 years for." Knox finished the thought. "Legal pretext." Miralesh whispered, "Protocol Omega." The council shuddered. Protocol Omega, a clause so obscure, buried so deep, no one believed a primitive world would ever qualify. It granted the right to forcibly restructure any interstellar system deemed a threat to planetary sovereignty after unprovoked war. Earth now owned the legal justification to rebuild the galaxy from inside. "Why?" asked Trivan. "Why go through all this? The deception, the patience." Hal turned, and for the first time, his voice lost its warmth. "Because we never wanted to conquer. We wanted to never be conquered again." The room froze. "We watched your empires rise and fall. We saw how you laughed at our films, mocked our food, marveled at our lack of unity. But you missed the one thing that kept us alive for 1,000 collapses." He stepped to the center. "We remember everything." He nodded to Knox. From the briefcase, a device lit up. Not a weapon. A vote trigger. With one press, Earth would initiate the new galactic charter. One designed in secret. One backed by psychological leverage, cultural blackmail, and deep code viruses embedded in every major species infrastructure since Earth joined the Council 50 years ago. Klex hissed, "You're threatening the entire galactic order." "No," Kim said. "We're updating it." Miralesh hovered in her mist-like sorrow. "And if we refuse?" Knox's answer was quiet. "Then your gods fall silent again." A long breath passed the chamber. Then a voice. Not human. A child's voice. Projected across every terminal, every wall, every display. It spoke in basic, but had no source. "I saw him smile," it said. The feed came from a refugee vessel orbiting the moons of Valak space. A small girl, no older than 6 cycles, looked into the camera, wide-eyed. He didn't yell. He didn't hit. He just smiled. And then the screaming stopped. The feed ended. Hal looked at the council one last time. "Vote or don't. But understand this, Earth doesn't ask anymore." He turned to leave. Behind him, the council debated, but the outcome was already etched in motion. The monsters had arrived not to conquer, but to offer structure. And everyone understood something now. It wasn't humanity's weapons that terrified them. It was their restraint. In the hallway, Mrs. Niven smiled and handed Hal a candy from her purse. "Didn't even have to raise my voice," she said sweetly. Hal took it, unwrapped it, and popped it in his mouth. They never do the first time. He pressed his comms. "Begin the quiet phase. Target transition teams to economic capitals. Psychological pacification protocols in place." "Activated," said Kim. "Good," he murmured. "Keep the music soft. We don't want them waking up too fast." From space, Earth's sky glowed brighter, not with weapons, but with emissaries. Ships shaped like domes and books, churches and cafes. Places to talk, negotiate, implant culture. The trap under heaven was not destruction. It was invitation, and they had all already accepted. Because when humanity arrives with open hands, and no one notices the gloves are weighted, it's already too late.